Western Conference podcast brought to you by Dos Caras Tequila, your boy Big Body Cisco. And when I say brought to you by Dos Caras, you guys always ask what we got going on. So I got a special guest in the house today. We got the queen of tequila, Miss Lupita. How you doing, Miss Lupita?
Hi, Cisco.
I didn't want to ruin the last name. So for the people that don't know, tell us, it's Lupita.
Arreguín.
See, Arreguín, I wasn't going to mess it up. But see, we got the queen of tequila, Miss Dos Caras. I tell you, every time we talk about this, people don't know it's a woman-owned tequila company.
Yes, it is.
So we had to have you in here to at least tell the story of how this all even came about. So introduce yourself to the people and just tell us how this started as it was a vision into what it is now.
I don't think it's an interesting story, but I guess people want to know. I moved to Mexico about 22 years ago. I was born in Mexico, but raised in California. I moved 22 years ago. My husband started a beverage distribution company. And so we were brought a lot of different things to try, beers and whatnot. And
from all up and down the spectrum, like from beer, like whiskeys.
Everything. No, not a lot of liquor because we're in Jalisco, and so it's the heart of what I think is the heart of tequila.
Yes.
So, and we happened to have someone bring us one that was really, really good, and it's something that grabs onto you. It's a really funny thing because it's very romantic.
Yes.
There's something about
nostalgic.
it that
it's nostalgic. I tell people all the time, like they say, oh, what do you get from it? Like it's the nostalgic feeling where, people kind of say you get that because you're drunk. No, it's like, no, that's not the case.
No.
But like something like that, when you taste that and you kind of say, is that something you say, okay, I kind of want to get behind this.
Yeah. And living in Guadalajara, which is a big city, it was super disheartening that even in Mexico, a lot of the bigger companies are the ones that are selling, and they're not necessarily the best ones out there. There's a lot of good tequila out there, but it's not necessarily mainstream.
See, and that's what I want to also talk to you about, like the facade of what's out there now. Like, we talk about like the nice bottles. We talk about, me coming from a club background, and everyone sees the cool 1942 comes out. They see the cool Clase Azul bottles come out. You guys who actually know your tequila are kind of sitting back kind of saying, okay, look, we get the facade that is being thought, but if you really get into that bottle, what do people should be really looking for?
Wow. Branding is a really interesting thing. People love beautiful things, you know. When I travel, I go through airports, and if there's a beautiful bottle on the display that I just love the bottle, I buy it. I don't even care what's in it. I buy it because I really like how it looks. I want to see it on my bar. I think our packaging is pretty cool. I think it's beautiful. It's very artistic.
Yes.
And I think it's well done.
But take us back to even what the inception of it was. Like when you had your husband having these, tequila come in, and when did you taste it?
He's selling, all these things, and going out into a restaurant one night, we were having dinner, and I happened to order, I won't say what tequila, but I ordered one. It was well known, and it tasted bad. I knew what it was like originally, which was really good, and at this point it wasn't, and I was shocked. I asked my husband, I said, how's that possible in the heart of tequila to not have a really good tequila in a big, beautiful restaurant? Yeah. And, there's a lot of politics involved in that.
And what do you think that was from? Was just the commercialization of...
The commercialization, yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of smaller brands that don't necessarily have the money to get out there. That don't make it out to everywhere else in the world.
That commercialization was a big word. That might have been the biggest word I've used on the podcast.
Commercialization?
Is that a real word? Can we look that up?
I'm on it.
We'll have the intern look that up. But just to go back to that, where you're drinking a tequila that you thought would be good, and then you kind of see that. Is this something that in you to kind of say, look, we're in this business already with your husband, but this is something that you guys can kind of take by the horns and kind of do something with it? Is that something how the inception of Dos Caras came?
A little bit, and my first thought was, I can't do this because we have this idea of the old tequila families. They do exist. Maybe not anymore so much, but they do exist. And I thought, I can't come in and try and sell a tequila when it hasn't been in my family from birth. It's not my birthright. But then I looked around and thought, you know what? Every celebrity or Hollywood type is selling a tequila.
Absolutely.
So why can't I?
Yeah.
And being from there, I don't know how, and I don't know if people will believe me, but there was something inside of me that knew what a good tequila should be like.
Yeah.
And from the very first moment I stepped foot into a distillery where I could smell the agave cooking, I knew somewhere in my mind, maybe in a past life, I knew that smell and I knew what it would taste like. And I happen to I love the taste of cooked agave.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. It's something not everybody has the opportunity to try, but I absolutely love it. And so when I taste tequila, when I drink tequila, I want to taste that. I want it to taste like agave, like a roasted, cooked, sweet, delicious agave.
Yeah, that's what this is also about, because being informed. And I tell a lot of people, because you're raised in, like, whether you're drinking alcohol, whether it be from cognac to tequila, you only remember how you took that. Like when I first had tequila, Mom, don't get mad at me, she had the Jose Cuervo Gold. And that's all we remembered as kids growing up, to say, okay, that's Mom's tequila. You know what I mean? And then little, you get your uncle like, oh, I have this tequila, where, okay, now there's different tequilas. So as you're growing up in this process, it's like you don't realize how many different type of tequilas there are, how many different type of cognacs there are. So now when you kind of sit there and hear what you're talking about, it's like we only see the outside of it. We see the bottles, we see the packaging. We don't really know what entails of going into the bottle. So you saying what roasted agave tastes like, you know, people that are watching this now is like, well, I just like the 1942 bottle or whatever it is. But we see these celebrities pushing it. George Clooney with Casamigos, The Rock with Terramana. And trust me, Rock, I see you, my brother. But when we go into this thing of whole tequila thing, there has to be some kind of say, look, the real tequila people kind of know, because, you know, we go back to you being in Mexico, where this is where it comes from, where we're not saying or discrediting The Rock or George Clooney. We're kind of saying, look, you are pushing the product, but you guys actually know what's going into these products. Like, is that something that you think that the public should know? Like, not just into Dos Caras, just in general, what goes into making a bottle of tequila?
You know, that's it's a personal thing. A lot of people are really interested in it, and it's fun. It's fun to go to a distillery and see, you know, the massive tanks where they ferment, and the way it's shredded, and it goes up these ramps and goes into the process, the cooking. Like, a lot of people are really interested in that. For me, I like going, but there's something, like I said, there's something about the smell there, the smell of the land, the smell of the agave cooking, and it just, I don't know, there's something about it that really resonates with me. And
when something like that hits you, it kind of takes over. It kind of say, look,
like I said, really, that's the romantic part of it. It kind of pulls you in, and that you're not escaping from that.
Because you being the president and owner, this is something that you have to believe full-fledged into to even push what you're pushing.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
So is this something that you had with your husband to say, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to make sure we got to cover all angles and do what we do? Like, tell us how that process and that conversation went about with your husband.
You know, at first, there's a little story behind it, where the one product that came to us at first, I fell in love with the liquid. It was absolutely delicious. We became partners 50-50 with the owner of the distillery. But through the years, because we've been doing this for about 18 years.
Wow.
We only launched Dos Caras in Nevada this year, but we've been in this business for about 18 years. My husband a little longer with the beverage distribution, but the person we were working with was not like 100% honest, and I couldn't move forward with that. It was super disheartening. It really broke us down, because we thought, okay, we've put all our efforts and we're now like super impassioned by it, and all of a sudden, you know, we're with this character that just is not 100%.
Doesn't get the vision.
He doesn't get the vision, and so we parted ways. But it was really interesting. It was super interesting the way it happened, because somebody, the person who does our packaging now, he had approached us with the other brand that we had, and he kept begging to redo our image. And my husband was like, no. A
little hesitant,
And we finally said, okay, yes, we'll redo it. And then we had this falling out with a partner. and then he came out with this beautiful new packaging, and we thought, what do we do now? My husband was kind of like, I'm done. This is it. It's over. We're done. And I mentioned yesterday, I'm very spiritual.
Yeah.
And I kind of sat back and just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. I let it come to me because I thought, okay, there's no way we have this incredible liquid.
Yeah.
We have this new branded packaging that's absolutely beautiful, and we're going to end this business now? We thought, no.
It just didn't make sense at the time.
It didn't make sense. Like I said, I kind of let it go, and all of a sudden, just everything started to flow. We were introduced to someone by our packaging, who he's now our partner.
Yeah.
Cesar. He introduced us because he works with a lot of distilleries to rebrand them in the area. So he introduced us to someone else at Tequilera Don Charro. He's absolutely 100% the type of person I love working with. It was who we needed to be in contact with. So that other brand was kind of just
it's kind of stepping stone.
A stepping stone to get to where we are now. Yeah.
Because you got to have trials and tribulations before you get to the perfect product, I would say. So it was a lesson learned.
It was.
But like, going through that process where it can get frustrating for your husband to say, look, we're done with this.
Yeah.
Like for you to kind of hang on to the vision and the image, like going forward, is that something that you kind of like obviously seeing in the packaging that go forth with like saying, look, it has to be all the way around what we want? Because you speaking of you being a spiritual person, like it has to kind of grab you.
Oh, it has to.
Because if it doesn't, I mean, everyone's about a vibe. Everyone knows when I talk about vibes are everything.
Yeah.
And when I think when I also got approached with the product, I kind of seen it too. And I was like, oh, I drink all kinds of tequila. I was real ignorant about, what it was. Then when you start doing your homework, and thanks to social media, and I think YouTube and a lot of these social media that we use now really inform you with things that you didn't know. Like even things that you're telling us now, like there's a whole process with the distillery and how the cooking of the agave that just goes down, where that us as, consumers don't have that knowledge. Yeah. We're just given what's on the commercial. We're just given what's at wherever we buy our liquor and whatever the guy at the corner is telling us, oh, this is some good tequila. And so we're taking his word or our family's word for it, where for you to have this as a family business, everything kind of has to align itself with it. So when Dos Caras came by, you guys had a rebrand. How did the name Dos Caras come about?
It was just a funny trip. At this point, my husband and I, it's mine because I said, no, we have to continue with this. Yeah. I don't know how, or I don't know where we're going, but we have to continue with this. So we're driving one day. It's a long drive from where we live to the distillery, and we're just driving for about 4 hours, and we just start thinking of names, just thinking of names and throwing throwing them out there, just the two of us in the car, throwing names out there. And he said Dos Caras, and I said, that's it. And he said, no. He kept thinking of other names and other names and other names, and I kept going back to Dos Caras. And I think that day when we got home, our packaging partner said, okay, do you have a name? Yeah. And he's like, Dos Caras.
He was like, look, he had the whole list, but he knew that you was adamant about Dos Caras.
I stuck with Dos Caras, yeah. So he thought of it, but I'm the one that stuck with it.
Dos Caras means two faces.
Two faces, yeah.
Man, if that ain't a trip off tequila, because you definitely do get two faces off tequila, pre-tequila and post-tequila. But tell us what the imminent story is about Dos Caras and why that came about for you.
I think it is that. No, it's not necessarily you have one face before and then when you're drunk you have no.
Yeah.
I think
that's just my interpretation.
I like that too, but I like to think we're just happier. On our day-to-day, we're all super stressed. We're all busy. We have that one face, right? Our work face, our family face, our everything. Absolutely. But once, when you relax and can have a sip of Dos Caras or whatever you like, you have that other face where you're a little more relaxed, a little bit happier, let's say.
Kind of put you at ease type face. Yeah. Because you have those faces that. Like, in being married and having, a girlfriend or boyfriend, the faces of your partner.
We all know those faces.
So when they have a long week and they're like, okay, I don't want to talk to him because he has that face. But if I give him a nice shot of tequila, he has the face of ease that we're talking about. And I think that's something that resonated with us because a lot of people that said, oh, well, Dos Caras means two, my Latin followers, they were like, oh, Dos Caras means two-faced. That means you're two-faced. Because there's the negative way for two-faced. Because, everyone growing up is like, oh, she's two-faced because that meant a different meaning. Yeah. So me and you, as like now, was trying to tell them that it wasn't based on that kind of like insult.
No, because two-faced, I know the term, but there's no direct translation for that in English. I mean, in Spanish. And so dos caras means two faces.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Not two-faced. Like, it's just
No,
like,
no,
oh, he's
no.
being two-faced to me.
No.
Because I
not
had a
at
lot
all.
of ex-girlfriends call me like, oh, that's a perfect tequila for you. I was like, hey.
No.
Just get the child support payment and process that. We good. But going back to those kind of like, so you guys have the name.
And my favorite too is that my husband says this, and I really love it. The other face of tequila would be mezcal, which will be coming out soon.
Oh, come on, the mezcal.
But so mezcal and tequila, those are the two faces of Jalisco, of Mexico.
Man.
Yeah.
And it takes it back to the roots because, like I said,
It does.
nothing against the Rock or anybody else that's pushing tequila. It got to go back to the roots.
It does.
And it's
yeah.
definitely something with a product that has the lineage and the history of being, where it's from, Jalisco, and where it comes from. Tequila it runs synonymous with heritage and lineage.
It does, yeah.
And I think the story of Dos Caras that is being told now, and especially that's why I was real adamant about having you in here. Because I could sit here and tell people, oh, drink Dos Caras all day, where I want it to be organic to a point where it's like, look, let me have the Queen of Tequila come in here and school everybody on what this is, because everyone has their favorites. They have the Blanco, they have the Añejo, they have the Reposado. Like, what goes into each one, saying, look, this has to be the right Reposado, this has to be the right Blanco. Like, what is the process that you and your partners have to go through to make sure that this is the product being put out?
It's really interesting, and a lot of people don't know. So an agave has to grow for at least, it should grow for about 8 years before it can be cut and processed. So even to have a Blanco, which is, it's made and distilled and goes directly into the bottle.
Yes.
That's already more than 8 years old, you know, from birth, from when the plant was born to getting this bottle is 8 years or more, or it should be.
Talk about process. People just think, okay, we're just gonna put this in the bottle and put it out. There's like a process where
there's a whole process.
When you say 8 years, or like there's products that say, okay, we don't want to wait that 8 years. We'll do it for 4 and cut it. You know what I mean? I'm going in my dope game days right now. And so is it like when you cut the process, are you just saying that, look, that's why you taste what you taste?
Exactly.
Because they didn't go through the whole process.
Exactly.
See how I got out of that one? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, when you have the process, that's going into the Blanco. Tell me, because my favorite is Reposado.
Okay.
And I don't know why it is. I guess just because I feel better off Reposado. But now I have to know, like, what's the process with that? Because it's definitely a distinct difference in this and that.
You should know too that if you try a Blanco, just because if your Blanco is good, everything else down that line is going to be good.
Come on, say it again, Queen. Say it again, Queen.
All of the other products will be good. You have to know that. It's 1,000% sure.
So this is kind of like the starter. Like, this is where you start off at.
That's where
and it kind of trickles down from there.
Because after that, it just goes into barrels.
Yeah.
It gets aged. Yeah. And
See?
so it
I didn't know
has
this
to age
process.
from 2 to 8 months, I believe, for a reposado.
How long on the Reposado?
I think 2 months to a year.
Okay. In the barrel.
Or just under a year, like 1 day under a year, that can be called a reposado. Yeah.
So there's a process to say it has to be in there for a certain amount of time before it can be called a Reposado.
Yeah.
And then Añejo is a different process?
More months in the barrel.
Oh.
Up to 2 years. We do 2
Oh, wow.
years.
That's a big gap.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But that's why this is like so in demand, because everyone I talk to is like, this is like the more expensive one that we call it.
Yeah.
Because this is the one that kind of ages more, right?
It has to sit in barrels, for up to 2 years.
And what kind of barrels? Like, some people say something, are they in whiskey barrels, or am I just being misinformed? Or it depends on
oak barrels.
Got it.
Yeah. They're a lot of the distilleries will use a one-time use. So they'll buy them from the whiskey companies in the States, bring them to Mexico, but the whiskey they use only one time.
Yeah.
So for tequila, you can use several times. Ours are virgin barrals.
Oh, see, got to get them virgin barrels. Nobody wants them whole barrels. You got to get the fresh barrels. We don't want the ones that have been used over and over again. But see, it's the process. And when I say process, the more informed I think drinkers are, I think they kind of more appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason, because, you have the product already. Now it's just a matter of putting it into bottles and kind of telling the story. Yeah. And I think this was an important episode for me as well because of our partnership, and to kind of say, I want to inform everybody the right way. Yeah. And what better ways to have the Queen in here talking about it, coming out of straight your mouth instead of my mouth, kind of saying, oh, Cisco don't know what the process is. I just learned about barrels being virgins. So When you have that process and you start getting, the boxes are coming out, what is the strategy for a tequila company to kind of say, look, we see what's out there. We see the stars pushing. We see whatever's been there. We see whatever the politics behind it is. How do you as a brand kind of say, look, this is going to be our approach on how we do things?
Mostly I like to say that the brand stands for itself. No, one of our biggest things is to get it on people's lips, to try it. I can't tell you how gratifying it is to me, and it's the same feeling every single time somebody tries it and they love it.
Yeah.
We did yesterday. We were sitting with some people that tried it, and I didn't know one of them was a chef, and he was a tequila person, and he absolutely loved it.
That's crazy.
And so that to me is just, it's so gratifying. Yeah. I don't think there's anything better. I think word of mouth is always the best kind of advertising, right? And a lot of what we're doing is that we're lucky to have the connections. It's funny because I did a long course on tequila tasting some years ago, and they gave us a lot of facts, a lot of statistics and facts and all these things. And the way they explained how a lot of the well tequila is brought into the casinos, it's just like this strange thing that we thought, that can't possibly be true.
That can't possibly be the process what we have to go through.
Well, no, because they kind of pump it in through hoses into the casinos, and we thought, well, that's insane. And so my first thought, I remember to my husband saying, well, we'll never go to Las Vegas, or that will be the last place we'll go to. And we ended up starting here.
Yes, because it's like you hear these stories about they pump to make you want to gamble, make you want to drink. It's like, wait, what else are they pumping into these damn vents? I thought that was AC at first, but it's something else.
It's not, yeah.
But it's like, to be in a city like Las Vegas, was this someone, because to come out, Las Vegas is actually the first city that you guys are in.
It's the first city, yeah.
What was the kind of like the decision behind that to kind of say, look, if we're going to do it anywhere, Las Vegas is going to be where we get our start at?
You know what? You have that crowd, no? And I think it's for the same as the locals as the tourists. They wear a lot of these faces, no? Yeah. A lot of the tourists come in to.
It's a lot more than two, Lupita, but I'll tell you, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
A lot more than Dos Caras, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But the tourists coming in, no? They're coming in to leave their worries and their work and everything else behind and have a good time. Yeah. So, like, what better place to do this, Because it goes hand in hand with what you just said. Yeah. Like, people are trying to get away and escape their troubles and what they got going on at home. A little bit, yeah.
And it's just to kind of see where, when you say, we talk about like taglines, like you saying, I just wanted to touch their lips. Like that sounded sexy as hell, first of all. But just to kind of tell somebody, why should I take this tequila? Because, you know what, just let it touch your lips. Because I think at that point, when I first got involved, I had a couple of bottles, and I was like, let me taste it, because, I was a skeptic. I was like, oh, everyone talks about a good tequila. Yeah. It was Super Bowl of this year, and I had a couple of my friends over. He brought a couple of bottles of another tequila, and I said, oh, we'll drink that after we drink these bottles. We drank these bottles during the game, and I was like, dude, this is a little different. I said, maybe because we didn't pay for them. Maybe, because I always try to be a skeptic, right? Free food is always good food. Free alcohol is always good alcohol, because you didn't pay for it. So I said, okay, we finished the bottle, and then he had opened the bottle that he had, and when he got it, it was such night and day, where it was almost like, bleh. But it was like, we're so used to drinking that that would kind of made me kind of say, okay, now that's the difference between good tequila and just something that we are already programmed to say that's a good tequila. Yeah. Like, is that something that you guys say, look for yourself or try it out for yourself? Because it's something that, like you said, once it hits your lips, it's a wrap after that. Yeah. That
has been, I think, our success, that people try it and they really, really like it. It's not us saying you'll please try it, you're gonna love it. No, it's just, here, have some. And then tell me what you think. Yeah. And the smile on people's faces, I'm telling you, it really does. It gets to me every time.
It's crazy because once you have somebody try, like I go back to these food critics and everything where they're trying something new. They'll try something, when there's somebody in front of them, they're like, this is good. It's like it's almost fake. You know what I mean? So with alcohol, it's a little different, because you can either get that face or
immediately. Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to fake that you like a tequila or something. Food I can see, because you can put it in the back of your mouth because they're pretty good. But these over here, once they hit your lips, whether you like it or not, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's no in between because, well, unless you're just an alcoholic, like I love anything. But
Well, the other thing is a lot of people are used to it, and I think it's in our culture, American and Mexican the same. They shoot it.
Yeah.
And you're never going to know what it tastes like if you
Yes.
just kind of shoot it back. So I always tell people, sip it, take a couple of sips. And I tell people too, the first sip is always going to be kind of shocking.
Yeah.
It's an alcohol, it's, and it's preparing your palate.
Yes.
So take a small sip, let it prepare your palate. Take a second sip, and that's when you know if it's a good tequila, you'll enjoy that sip.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of being Shooter McGavin because I was a shooter of this stuff. So when I was taught, by Les and a lot of people that drink tequila, they showed me the whole process.
Yeah.
Once I went through the process, I ditched the Shooter McGavin moniker because it was like once you're shooting good tequila, you're not enjoying what went into the process.
Yeah.
Like knowing that it took 8 years and knowing what the barrel, months took for that and 2 years for the now the appreciation kind of makes your mindset kind of say, okay, look, let me not just shoot this thing, which we're used to doing. And you can enjoy what it was. Because now I was taking little sips, and that touched me. I seen it on Instagram, and I was taking a little sip and swirling it around my mouth, pause. But but doing that, it kind of like said, okay, I could taste what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Because at first I take a shot, I was like, oh, it's cool. You know what I mean, at first. But now once you sit there and appreciate what goes into it, and you taste a little bit of what you're talking about, I mean, come on, it goes a long way. So a lot of people out there who are used to shooting this should appreciate and kind of sip it and go through the whole process because I've done it. And these nightcap glasses that Andreas got me, first of all, you can have shot glasses on anything. But once you take it out of nice, glassware, and trust, I don't know if it's me getting older, Lupita, but I know when I put it in the glass like that, you kind of just sip it and kind of just have that old player pinky up one time and just
It becomes a moment.
Yes. So but go back to what we're talking about now. You being a woman owner. Like this could have easily kind of said, oh, my husband runs this. What kind of made it come for you to say, no, this is going to be a woman owned. You're the president owner of Dos Caras. Tell us how that kind of even went into the equation of you being a woman owner of this brand.
It was my pursuing it and having fallen in love. I said, it's very romantic, and I fell in love. The whole thing just kind of captured me, and I'm the one that insisted on moving forward with it. And my husband thought I was crazy. He's like, I don't know what you're doing, but he just kind of said, okay, you really want to do it, do it.
Because really, it's like at that point, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I have to do it. I don't call myself a perfectionist, but I do believe in doing things with excellence.
Yeah.
Like it just has to be done right. It's the only way I know how to do things the right way.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, you wouldn't say it, but that's why I and, people that know you call you the queen of tequila because of that, because of what you want to put into the bottle. Yeah. Easily you can have anybody come behind a product and be like, oh, well, I'm the queen because of this and that. To kind of see you being inspired about the way people drink it and what goes into the bottle. I think that kind of speaks volumes for you being a woman owner. Yeah. Kind of saying, look, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right, because easily the hubby could have been like, oh, we're not going to do this. We're not. But you kind of being persistent and kind of saying, no, there's something about this product that we got to put out there, and going through the steps. Like you kind of being an entrepreneur at this point in time. What do you say for the woman entrepreneur watching this podcast to kind of say, look, I'm scared to take that next step. I'm scared to kind of like put my all into not if it's tequila, into anything that they're doing. What advice would you give to that woman watching this right now?
To push forward. I mean, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name, but I read the book. She was Mark Zuckerberg's right hand. I think she still is. Yeah. She wrote a book called Lean In, and it really struck me that a lot of women were afraid to lean in. We're afraid to take that step, and I've just kind of pushed it. I've been lucky because I have an incredible team around me. They're all amazing, and so they make it super easy for me. And some people think being in Mexico and being a woman, it's not possible. No, it is. It is because I'm Mexican. I don't see myself as this woman in this man's world. It's just, I'm a Mexican woman in this Mexican world of doing things the way that they do things. I understand it. It's a little different from the U.S. way, but I get it. Yeah. Because
I can see the young, Mexican girl watching this, or young, minority watching this, and kind of say, wait, She's the president and owner of this tequila company. And, a lot of things about this podcast that we have guests on here is to inspire, people watching this. And I think it was a big inspiration for us to have you here because of that. And I think because once you see, the youth, especially with everything that's going on, that's going to be one of my next question. With social media and everything that's going on, it's so informative, but you want to make sure they have the right information.
Yes.
Like, how has the part of social media played a part in Dos Caras' success? Is that something that you believed in right away, or is it something that you still had to take getting used to?
I'm still getting used to it. I'm not big on social media. I'm a whole other generation that it's just, I didn't grow up with any of it. So it's taken me a moment. And I'm also not, I'm a super introvert. I'm a homebody. I'm not, this is so out of my comfort zone. But I think, and it goes back to your other question of when you want to do something and you really believe in it, there's nothing that can stop you.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I never would have known this until now. I didn't understand when people say, when you do something you love, it never feels like work.
Yeah.
It's true, 100%. Like when you're doing what you love every single day,
Absolutely.
You're raring to go every day.
Yes.
So when people ask me to come to an interview or to anything, any event, anything, I'm there. I want to see people's reactions. I want to see people love this. And even women who don't want to try it and that surprised look of,
Yes.
like, wow.
We were talking about that because we went over to Pine Bistro. A friend of mine, shout out Jay Sean and Lo, and with the hostess there, Carolina.
Yeah.
She had came up and she was, had one baklava, but you were saying when you guys did a tasting, she was real adamant about not trying tequila. Tell us about that story, because I think that has a lot to do with what we just said.
Yeah, I love her now because she said, no, I don't drink tequila. And meanwhile, we're doing this tasting and we're on the Blanco and everybody's trying the Blanco. And I turned to her and said, did you like it? I already tried all three. She said, I love them.
Yeah. And that's crazy because people have that stigma of like, I will never try,
a lot.
this.
Especially women.
Yes.
Especially women. They
'Cause
don't
women
think,
are real. They
call
know what
it
they want.
a brown liquor. They won't try a brown liquor.
Yeah.
And for the most part, most of the women that we've had taste it absolutely love the reposado.
Yes. Because I always say, like, tequila, you got to make it sexy, right? We like whether you put it in a margarita, whatever you do, like, what are some of the things that you say, okay, with a Blanco, what would you do? Like, is the reposado more of a sipper? Like, I'm still new to, like, is the Blanco a mixer or is the añejo you drink on its own? Like, what's the advice you have for tequila drinkers that drink Dos Caras to say, look, this is the one you mix with, that's the one you sip? Like, please inform me so I know.
I would say it's personal.
Yeah.
For
Personal
me,
choice.
it's a personal choice because for me, I can sit and sip any of the three.
Wow.
And I happen to prefer the extra añejo. That's my favorite, which will be coming soon. But I really like sipping any of them. But you can have my daughter, who is a trained pastry chef. She's now helping us make cocktails.
Yes.
And so she's funny because she doesn't think about it in terms of the añejo is more expensive. It's been aged more. She just takes whatever she wants and makes amazing cocktails.
Yeah.
But I would say the people love the Blanco in a cocktail, and the reposado too. Either one of those can go into any cocktail. I think it's a shame to put the añejo into a cocktail.
Tell them that, because I think that's what I was trying to get at.
It deserves to be sipped.
Because it's just kind of stands on its own pedestal.
It does.
Where Blanco, I think we had the reposado in a margarita last night.
Yeah.
And it was like, it had a jalapeno in there, and it's crazy.
It was delicious. Crazy spicy, but delicious.
It was amazing. It had a watermelon wedge and a jalapeno. And me, I'm normally the sipper or the shooter. When that came out, I was like, oh, you know what? Since Lupita's I'll have one. It was amazing. The kick of the jalapeno.
The jalapeno was, woo.
But just to kind of mix that with everything I was going, it's like, there's so many different varieties of like what you can and can't do with it.
Yeah.
Like you do recommend that you kind of sip the añejo on its own.
I do.
Because it has that process. But like everything else to
appreciate it.
Yes. The appreciation is big.
It is,
Because I think if you appreciate it more, you kind of get more of a different buzz. I think when you're talking about it, it's the nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to not being like belligerent or whatever, but I think once you drink it the right way, and I think that goes to show with any alcohol. Yeah. If you drink it the right way and appreciate it the right way, you kind of get a different type of buzz. And I think that's what you're talking about in this nostalgia that you get and kind of like the energy and the vibe from it. So like going forward, what do you see Dos Caras in the next 5 years? Like what is your vision for your brand going forward?
It's funny because we thought at first, you think about things very logically.
Yeah.
You look at numbers, you look at everything, and we thought, okay, well, we'll start in Nevada.
Yeah.
We're gonna launch in Nevada. We'll stay there a couple of years, do everything we have to do to get people to try it, to get people to like it. But like I said, I'm a very spiritual person, and so I've kind of seen how it kind of has taken on a life of its own, because it's getting ready to, it's pushing us to open other states.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
the Bay Area is ready, by the way, just to let you know that the Bay is ready for this. San Francisco is in high demand for some Toscadas. But like you said, it's for the vision of Las Vegas. Like if Las Vegas loves it, the whole world will love it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
is that something that you like going for? Like, because now you're getting pressured. California's wanting it,
Oh, yeah.
Arizona, you
Texas,
got, I'm going to New Zealand. I said, a lot of people
Arizona.
from New Zealand just hit me. New Zealand wants it.
Yeah.
So like, how do you kind of go as a brand and kind of say, look, let's kind of like conquer where we're at first
Yeah.
before we start kind of like selling ourselves short. Not so much selling ourselves short where you want to kind of like where you're at home and have Vegas be the kind of initial people to do it. Like, what are your future plans for saying? Are you trying to be in other countries like that too, or you're just going to see where this spiritual voyage takes you on?
I'd really like to, because I've been lucky enough to travel some, and in
Yeah.
Europe, people have a terrible idea of what tequila is. Bad, bad, bad.
And what do you think that's
And
from? You think that's
so-
just from
It's super unfortunate, because the tequila they have out there, I don't know who makes it or
Yeah.
who takes it out there, but it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
And do you like
And
you
it's
when you
super
travel? Do you notice that
shameful.
everywhere you travel to? Like, if it's not your
Yeah.
tequila, I mean, of course you got to do R&D, research and development. Like, are you taking it in Europe and you're taking it in these other countries and sipping their tequila? Like, what is this? Like, or how is this even getting here?
Yeah.
Like, what is your perception of other? Like you said, Europe is like that. Where else have you tried tequila and it was like, yeah, this ain't it?
In just mainly in Europe.
Yeah.
Mainly in Europe, some South America. South Americans do love tequila, but they have their own versions of
Yeah.
what tequila is. Yeah. And so just like I said, I would love to see it across the United States,
Yeah.
of course. And then from there move on to just different countries to get people to change people's perceptions
Yeah.
of what tequila could be. We happened to be at the High Roller, and my husband, he was at the bar, and four or five Germans asked him to take a picture of them, and he said, "I will, but only if you'll do me a favor and try my tequila."
There he is.
And
Come on.
so and the minute these poor Germans heard tequila, they thought, "Oh no."
yeah, they were already turning like, oh, we
They
can't do
were
it. Yeah.
super turned off, and so he said enough to get them to try it. And afterwards, they wanted a picture with me. They bought, because he bought them, I believe, they bought them each some blanco.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they all went back and bought some reposado or añejo, I'm
Wow.
not sure. And they're like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
We had no idea that you could actually sip tequila and it's good. They said, we shoot it back as fast as possible because it tastes terrible.
Yeah.
And
See, and then they have that. Once they taste terrible, they think every tequila tastes terrible.
Yeah, they have that perception. And that really upsets me, because I don't want tequila to be seen that way around
Yeah.
the world. It shouldn't be, because I know that
Yeah.
tequila can be really, really good.
And is that frustrating for you to kind of
It
know?
is.
Because especially with what people have the perception of tequila is,
Yeah.
and you see it. Well, like I said, it goes from either rap videos, whatever it is that they get their image of what tequila is. How do you kind of go about it? Say, look, if these people would just know what I know. Is that something that you put into your product? Say, look, all I want is for you guys to know what I know, and then you guys would appreciate what the product is.
Yeah, like I said, just to get people to try it.
Yeah.
Get it on the lips.
As long as it touches their lips, right?
Yeah. After that, they're sold. and it sounds silly, but I say this, if I just change one person's mind,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
And so if I go along the way and I change a few more people's minds on what tequila is and should be, I'm happy.
And I think as long as they see this story, and this is like, it goes back to this being, for me, it was something that I really wanted people to see, because I think you, not only being a woman owner, I think you being the passion that you have behind your product was something that also kind of like when I talked to the team and was kind of saying, look, this is something that I want. When you get behind a product, you kind of like got to do your research. And, for anybody that's, whether you're a sponsor, whatever it is, I did my research. And I kind of sat there and I sat down with Les and I sat down with Andreas. I was like, look, what is the vision behind everything? And then even before I had met you. And then when I kind of seen your story, I was like, hey, we got to get her on the podcast. Only because I knew your story would resonate with a lot of the audience that watches now. And not just an audience in alcohol. I think an audience in
yeah.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think just women across the world that see this kind of say, look, it don't just have to be liquor that we're pushing.
No,
It could be
yeah.
anything that they are already adamant about. Like, but with that said, and we starting to wrap up this interview with Dos Caras Tequila being in Las Vegas, and me seeing it going from state to state. The next thing that's coming out, you said there's an extra añejo coming out. What could we expect within the immediate future to come out from Dos Caras?
The extra añejo is already, it's close, and our mezcal.
Yeah.
Our mezcal is absolutely unbelievably
See, don't say that Lupita and not have it here. I thought you was gonna pull it. Well, you got to try this mezcal right now.
No, you know what? We don't have it yet. It's coming soon, very soon. But one of the things I do want people to know, so it comes from a 200-year-old distillery.
Wow.
That can obviously, because it's 200 years old, there's no machinery. A lot of it is all stone and gravity, and just it's unbelievable.
That process is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the copper distiller that they use looks like an antique of some sorts. A relic
you painting
of
the
some
picture
sorts.
for him, Lupita. You painting the picture.
And what comes out of there is absolutely delicious. And so that I'm super excited to get here. But because it's a 200-year-old distillery, they can produce only a certain amount.
Wow.
And that amount
so it's real limited.
It's going to be limited. But what we'll have is what we'll sell.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going to press the distillery to make a second distillery or to
I see what you're
expand
saying.
or
So
to make
once
it
these
bigger.
are here, that's it.
That's it.
Wow.
Every year they'll make their amount. That's what we'll sell. And I hope that people will like it because it really is something special.
Now that they know the process, I want me a bottle. Because like you said, we talked about this before, people like the exclusivity. And I think once they know, like, look, once we make these couple of bottles, that's it. Like, that's what entices people and buyers more to say, okay, this is all cool, but the limited edition one, I want that one. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it is, the exclusivity, and I think it's due to social media.
And it's not a sales pitch.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
This is what it is. This
is
what it is, and we're super excited to get it out because we've had some people try it and they really love it. A lot of people are turned off by mezcal, but I promise people, like I tell them about our tequila, I promise you'll like it. Well, I also promise you're gonna love our mezcal.
See, the mezcal is the one that's next, but tell them about the extra añejo because I think once they see this, everyone's going to buy up those mezcals. But then extra añejo, what makes it extra? Because we said it takes about 2 years in the barrel. Mm-hmm. What's the extra? Is that just more time?
More time. It can go anywhere for the most part, extra añejos are 3 years. Ours is a 5-year. And it's
the extra añejo is a 5 year.
Really nice. Yeah.
So and the darker it is, it means the more...
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
They get color from the barrels. Like I said, they're virgin oak barrels, so that's just kind of...
The virgin barrels get me every time.
Virgin oak barrels,
You got to make sure the virgin, because...
Not used.
They want the tight barrels.
They want to make sure they get them barrels. But like I said, Lupita, we wanted to thank you for coming because I felt like this story was needed. But I said we have to take a sip, and I won't say a shot, of the añejo because... And look, I learned to pour it halfway. Because normally you pour it to the brim because we're just used to like cheap. But you got to pour it halfway to let it breathe. But I want to get it in there and just say, look, I want to take this Dos Caras sip.
Thank you.
To the Queen of Tequila, Dos Caras Tequila. Much success to you guys and the team. And we'll see you guys on the next one. That's the Western Conference Podcast. Peace.
Salud.